Ba 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 ba. Look at me, I am now level 40. Unfortunately though, I'm only level 39 renowned, but we're gonna level that up. But look, yes, Yamina is now level 40. Look at her amazing armor and her sparkly aura of power. Ooh, ah. Yee. Oh. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful to see her new and improved, excuse me, look? Oh, I do find it weird that the front of her pants doesn't have protection. You would think there would be like a plate or something, or like maybe it would extend into a whole skirt or something like that, but it's fine. It's fine. And also here, if you want to see the hat, here's the hat. I personally prefer not showing the hat. I like having my hair out because I think I'm pretty. Don't you think I'm pretty as well? No, thank you very much. Very good. That's a very good comment you made there. And I'm going to say that you made a comment about how pretty Yamina is and how she can twist and turn real fast. And also, I mean, look at that shield. That shield's really nice. And my sword's really nice. Man, we're coming on up in the world. And that means that we get to stand on this mountain here. And then we can go over this way a little bit and we can see Moorsleep. Look at Moorsleep. Ooh, very spooky. It looks down on us and it says, Yamina, make more videos. And I go, okie dokie, Arajoki. So I'm gonna do it. And since we got to level 40, I don't know why, but I thought it would be kind of fun to just go over some little neat facts about the Empire and some other random things. Because I wanted to talk about factions I like and things I like in Warhammer. And I just thought it would be kind of fun to just do a sort of kind of randomish video. I say as if all my videos aren't just me rambling a lot as a cat going meow 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 meow. And did you know meow 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 meow? But now we're here with a sword. I will say it was kind of interesting. I was trying really hard to level up my RVR level more, and I was doing like a lot of RVR, but oh hey, there's a person over here. Witch Hunter Adept. What are you doing over here, bud? Oh, I don't know if I'm cut out to be a witch hunter. Oh, don't worry, you're definitely cut out to be a witch hunter. Look, I'll clap for you. Oh wait, no, that's what. Clip, 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 and then we're gonna cheer. Yeah. Don't you feel encouraged to be a witch hunter? I guess so. I guess I feel a little bit encouraged. Here, I will toast you as well. Aha! To witch hunting. Ah, that was just mountain water, but I put mountain water in my stein of purification. Okay, I guess that's good. Yeah, see, now that I've encouraged you. But yeah, I've been running around doing all kinds of things, exploring the world, killing things, and of course, I've also been writing lots of little bits of lore for Yamina, but also for this ogre tribe I'm working on, as well as some of these greenskin tribes I've been working on, because I've been having a lot of fun playing greenskins in Total War Warhammer, and I think for my next character that I'm going to try and get to 40, I might make it Black Orc, or I might make it the Choppa that I currently have. I haven't exactly decided yet. But I'm thinking it'll be one of those. Oh, look. You can see the greenskin camp from here. And look at all of its glory. They made a fist because power to the people. My good. Wait, what happens? What happens if I do fist? Fist is not a command. What about point? Point is a command, yeah. Power to the people. Join the Yamina army. Be cool. But yeah. So I was just going to talk about random facts and things I like about various different factions for a little bit, because I thought that would be a fun little video for getting to 40 and all that fun stuff. And one of the first random facts that I was going to share that I rather enjoy is, did you know that people in Hawkland, that's the province of the Empire, are sometimes said to like their long rifles more than they like their own wives. It's a province that has like a lot of marksmen, and they come with like a lot of great bowmen and things like that. And people sometimes call it Ostermark's little brother, but they don't call that inside of the province because people are like, "Oh, I don't like that name. Oh, I don't like that when you say that." But they like it outside of the province, so it's kind of cool. There's also a pretty good short, well, not short story, it's novel. The Scarlet Blades. Yeah, the Scarlet Blades, which is about a Hochland regiment of swordsmen. No, I always thought that was pretty kind of neat. So if you, there's actually a lot of really good stories about like different parts of the Empire, depending on what exactly you're looking for. I personally, my favorite province in the Empire is Averland, but I've said that before. I think I was trying to think which one would be my least favorite. I like at least a little something about each of them. I think Reichland is the one that I like the least, just because for some reason they're all like, "Oh, I'm a fancy lad," and they're always trying to tell you about their fancy lad things. But like to me, it's like I don't want to hear about your fanciness. Your fanciness. I got my own fanciness. Look at me, I'm pretty fancy. I can do a little dance, but I can't do a dance in this because they decided that dancing emotes would be too silly for Warhammer. They don't want to do dancing emotes for Warhammer. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that Warhammer has the correct amount of silly that you could very easily put in dancing emotes, and I think it would fit just fine. Warhammer is fairly silly like that, but you know. Oh, another thing that I think is kind of interesting is that, and this is sort of official lore, this is kind of interesting because this is also from Total War Warhammer, and I learned this recently because I was trying to, excuse me, Monsieur Squig. Monsieur Squig. But so I was playing orcs, Azag the Slaughterer in Total War Warhammer because you know I've just been enjoying orcs lately, and I was just kind of trying to do a thing where I wanted to see if I could get one of the dwarf holds to like me if I just kept gifting them things. So I was gifting them things, and Carden I eventually got to. They were still very unfriendly because the problem was that they start directly south of Azag, and so like everybody I'm fighting, you know, they're right around there. I was getting a bigger empire, and they were just like, "Oh, I don't like it. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, I don't like you orcs." And I was like, "But I am not doing anything to you. Heck, I will even help you out if you want." Like, "We's a big dwarf. We ain't do that." And they were being all grumpy and things. What I didn't realize is, as I was giving more and more gifts to Carden, I eventually had Zufbar, which is one of my favorite dwarf holds because it's a like it's an engineer's hold, and I really like that they have the engineers guild there, so that's pretty cool. I really enjoy engineers and things like that. But anyway, so it turns out that I was actually earning their ire like almost constantly because I was giving Carden gifts, and I thought that was weird because like dwarf holds certainly have competition. But I've never... It's like considered a major sin among dwarves to kill other dwarves. So I wouldn't have thought that like giving money to Carden would have really like upset Zufbar, but it was upsetting them. So like Carden, I was getting like at least a little bit higher in preference, but Zufbar was then at negative 241 because I had kept giving them more and more gifts to Carden, and I was like, oh, that's actually annoying because I would actually much rather be friends with Zufbar than Carden because Carden is, you know, the Slayer hold, and I'm not really too into the whole dwarf shame culture thing. That is another thing. Did you know that there are dwarves who actually break with tradition quite a bit? It's just that because dwarf society is so conservative, they tend to be really looked down upon. There are dwarves who go out to the empire and they go out to the empire and things like that, and they make their own little livelihoods and things. And people, other dwarves inside of the world's edge mountains will get upset with them and they'll be like, "Oh, you should be helping us." And it's like, well, I don't know. Over here, there's like fun humans, and I get sausages and things, and I don't have to worry about constantly being killed. And yeah, there's still raids and things, but we get to be professionals and things like that among the humans, and very well respected and things like that. And they're like, oh, but yeah, no. It's kind of interesting. In one of the Godric and Felix books, there is actually a conversation where there's a dwarf craftsman who really wants to leave because he just feels like his clan is just kind of not really going anywhere, and it's just like, I would imagine it would get kind of depressing to be in a dwarf hold for too long, just because everything's like always on the idea of like everything used to be better and everything, and you know your ancestors are better and blah 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 blah. So he wanted to go to the Empire Land, so he asked Felix about it, and like Felix, he said, "Well, you know, do they chase dwarves out of Empire Lands?" He's like, "No, dwarves are really well respected in Empire Lands. People really like dwarves in Empire Lands." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So he's like, "Oh, maybe I'll go there." Oh, a nice refreshing swim. Wait, what's that up there? Hmm, base shredder, huh? It's just a bunch of bears. I'll leave them alone. Just doing bear things. Unless they attack me, then I will kill. But yeah. And did you know that dwarf masons also frequently build rather large portions of the empire? Like for instance, you can often see like in like very large constructions the hands of dwarves, and you can kind of tend to tell when it's a dwarf building something versus when it's a human building something. But only if you look really closely. And a lot of times, excuse me. And a lot of times, what will happen is that a dwarf will build like the base construction, and then humans will add on to it over time. So that's kind of neat. Uh, I've never been over here. Oh, that is a lot of. Oh, these must be some of those rebellious type guys. Hmm. Okay, well, I don't really want to kill doggies, even if they are mean. But yeah, I. It has been kind of interesting playing through as this Empire lady and getting to the top and like imagining like all of the great glory she's won and how like people in her order praise her. Yeah, the Knights of the Blazing Sun are really cool. On the tabletop, they have this special power which basically blinds their enemies when they're charged into them, because you know Meridia gives them a big old sun aura. So I think that's pretty cool. I greatly enjoy that. There are actually, and this is kind of interesting, there are actually a few places where you can see goblins and other things inside of the Empire, although it's very rare. But there is actually like some official art, for instance, where you can see like goblins basically being like chained up jesters, or like that's actually like an official piece of like Sigmar art where you can see like a goblin being a jester for Sigmar, and I think that's kind of funny. Although I think it's kind of always hard to tell the canonicity with art because some of it goes like all over the place, you know. Oh, hey, that looks like a big old Sigmar temple. It is something I find very interesting about the ooh. Next, just 1 second. All right. Did you know that most of the full plate mail and best armor in the Empire is actually made by dwarves. And this is actually kind of interesting and related to this gentleman I'm seeing over here. This gentleman in the armor. You see, a lot of, or the vast majority of Chaos plate armor is actually made by Chaos dwarves. And the Chaos dwarves will make all kinds of crazy plate armor and engineers and our engines, war engines and things like that, and they'll give them to Chaos armies and things like that, and help them fight. But the thing that was interesting was that in 6th edition, there were technically rules for Chaos Dwarves in the Ravening Hordes book, but there were never any 6th edition models put out for Chaos Dwarves. And basically by 7th edition, in Warhammer Fantasy, they had basically no longer existed on the tabletop. Technically, the only unit you could get for a while that was Chaos Dwarf was the Hell Cannon. The Hell Cannon had a Chaos Dwarf crew. It was official. And then in 8th edition, they actually came back briefly. They had with Tamakuns. I can't remember how exactly you say it. But basically, there's a special supplement where you could actually get Chaos Dwarves. And you could order them from Forge World. The thing was that they were really expensive. But I mean, anything Forge World's pretty expensive. But these were really expensive. Some of them looked really cool, though. Oh, also, personally, Chaos Dwarves are some of my least favorite in anything. I don't like them because they're evil capitalists. And I don't like my capitalists, and I don't like that they do all this slavery stuff. And that's why I frequently target them when I am playing Total War Warhammer. And if there were Chaos Dwarves I could smack in this, I would totally do that. Although, to be fair, to be a good kitty, I shouldn't be smacking every single person. But, you know, Chaos and Chaos Dwarves and things like that are kind of evil. That's actually one of the things that's been funny. I've been working on my own personal, like, ogres and my own personal, like, greenskins and my own personal, like, all these different things because it's fun. And I've been the lore a lot, but I can kind of make ogres, for instance, good. I can make good ogres, and I have this whole thing where I'm going to get into it later and really go into detail because I think it'll be fun. But basically, the idea is that they follow the magic cat, and the magic cat shows some of them how they can actually lessen their hunger and overcome their hunger and become like way more powerful without their hunger. But they also like feed the ones that are having a hard time with like these basically infinite um bowls, just like regenerate or generate whatever kind of food they want, so they can just say make stew, and then like stew will appear in the bowl and they can just drink it basically forever, which is kind of based off an old Norse myth that I find really interesting. Basically the idea is that there's a magic kettle that will brew the best beer ever. It's kind of interesting. Basically, that was kind of what I was doing. I was playing around with that, and I've been playing around with the idea of like orcs who are like fighting chaos and want to fight the bad guys and kind of have this higher view of themselves, or at least the war boss has a high view of himself as sort of almost like a knightly type figure. And I've also had one where he's like kind of like an orc who's kind of thinks of himself almost like a better version of a dwarf, basically. And I am playing around with all these different ideas. Chaos is one of the ones that's kind of hard to actually redeem without just going full silly. And the full silly I was going for was like a Chaos cult based around the cat. And they're all about like stopping other Chaos cults and getting more fluffy. Because that was fun. But that's fairly silly. You know, guys, there are Chaos guys like right over there. But that's fine. That's fine. Ooh, a fire. Let's see. Hmm. Hmm. What if we point? There we go. See, I'm warming my one finger. Very good. But yeah. Oh, also, this is kind of interesting. But in like medieval times, the space like on the ground here would be limited. So what people would do is they would build up a space down here, but then they would kind of expand it up over here. So they would expand like upward more than they would expand downward. So people would have not that much space like on the bottom floor, but then they would, as their floors went up, they would do things like this. And this is actually kind of like what the imperial design for like these houses and things like that is based on. And so that's pretty cool. Puppy! No, I can't do that. Hug? Oh, I hugged his hound. Yes, very good. Very good. Oh, look, a cockatrice. Cockatrice is basically an evil chicken, as you can tell by looking at the evil chicken features. Sometimes they actually breathe fire, and other times they are just like basically just a large chicken. Which, once again, I mean, I love chickens. I feed chickens. I give chickens seed. We have birds around this area, and the horse looks very green. But we have birds around this area, and I always give them seed and stuff every day. I go out and I toss seed out for them, and we give them water. And you know, if you put out you can put out apples and things for them, which is kind of interesting. And if you put out the apples and things for them, oh, I guess it can get in there. Big skulls. Still, this is a really pretty building, and this is a Temple of Sigmar. That's kind of cool. Wait, let's see. What happens if I type? Right. Oh. Cool. Oh. We're gonna pray now. But yeah. There's all kinds of interesting and exotic birds and things like that that you can find in Warhammer. But ravens are commonly associated with Tzeentch. It's kind of interesting for as much as Tzeentch is about like chaotic mutation and things like that. For some reason, he's always bird things. There's some Norse guys hanging out here. I mean, I'm pretty okay with that. I don't want to attack the Norse guys. That they're not attacking me. But yeah. Tzeentch is commonly associated with the ravens. The thing that's kind of interesting is you don't really see very much animal association outside of Tzeentch. For some reason, Tzeentch, they really decided to really hammer home the idea of like the Raven God and like them being associated very specifically with Tzeentch. Now, obviously, not all ravens are associated with Tzeentch because there's also ravens related to the Shadow Order and things like that. But yeah, it's the main thing. Khorne kind of has like a thing with dogs where like sometimes Khorne is described as being like a um having a big dog head, a big angry dog head, and he does have the hounds of Khorne and things like that, but there's no actual nowhere near as strong of an association. Slaanesh is kind of interesting in fantasy in particular because it's very much a vanity thing. If you look at most of the Slaanesh heroes, they're very much just in the vain camp, which is kind of interesting because you get a little bit of that with the 40k guys, but not as much. For some reason in fantasy, they're like really, really associating that with where am I on the map? Oh, I'm over here. Interesting. What's this way? No, Troll Collector. Okay. But yeah, I do find that kind of interesting. Oh. The woods in the Empire do tend to be kind of dangerous just because there's like monsters and bandits and things like that. But depending on where you go, they can be like less dangerous. The Empire will regularly send out patrols and things like that to. I've learned about Longshanks. they can be... Oh. Excuse me, sir. I was trying to share random facts and things. Although, yeah, there are apparently a lot of bandits in certain parts of the Imperial Woods. It's kind of interesting because that was also sort of a thing that you had to deal with in the medieval times. When it, depending on where you were, sometimes there would just be bandits just out in the woods. And you'd have to, like, find a way to get rid of them or take care of them. In my case, it would just be send Yamina. She's a sword. Oh, also, although Sigmar is the primary deity of the Empire, there's actually like a lot of worship of various different other deities. Like Sigmar is kind of like what we associate with the Empire when we think about the Empire, right? But there's a rather large amount of people who actually worship things like Tal and Myrmidia and Ulrich, of course, in the north, and things like that. And there's a certain amount of enmity. The cult of Sigmar has the most political power, followed by the cult of Ulrich. The cult of Sigmar has 2 electoral votes, but the cult of Ulrich has 1 electoral vote. And then, for one reason or another, I don't think it's ever actually explained why. There were offers of giving electoral votes to like the Temple of Tal, which is kind of way less organized because Tal is like a nature deity and kind of like a god of huntsmen and things like that. But like to the other temples, they were given opportunities to have electoral votes as well, but they said no to that opportunity, which is kind of interesting. I don't remember if it's ever actually given a reason why. But yes. Also, the Empire is fairly cosmopolitan. The Empire actually has residents from pretty much all over the world in certain parts of it. And in the more cosmopolitan parts, there's people from all over the world, like in their trading force and things like that. There's a decent number of elves in the Empire, but nowhere near as many as there are dwarves. In some parts of the Empire, dwarves make up as much as 10% of the Imperial citizenry. I know I've already kind of gone over this in the Who Makes of the Empire video, but I still think it's very interesting to see all that. And the one thing I will say is that in the book Heirs of Sigmar, they try to give out like decent populations of some of the towns in the Empire. I would not go by that at all because those populations don't make any sense, especially if you consider like the size of the Imperial armies. But that's kind of a fairly common thing in Warhammer. For some reason, Warhammer has a really hard time with numbers. Numbers in particular, they are just absolutely terrible when it comes to numbers. In 40k, it's abysmal how often they just have like completely made up numbers. I'm not going to go over there because there are men over there who are angry. But you know, I wouldn't mind waving to them if they would let me. But that's the Chaos chapter. Ooh. It's an interesting signpost considering it doesn't actually... Oh, it does say things, but it says them Chaos. Oh, Chaos is actually... There's like Chaos runes and Chaos language, technically. What the fuck is that? That's just like a... baby. It's a baby. A human baby. But... Chaos, there's actually a Chaos language, like, of the demons and things like that, but the thing is, like, when you write it down on, like, a piece of paper, basically, it's always shifting and moving, and, like, it's really hard to read, and apparently, like, it really will hurt your eyes if you look at it for too long, unless you're, like, a crazy Chaos cultist. So, you know, don't be a crazy Chaos cultist, because then you're going to be able to look at things that are bad for you longer, and you shouldn't do that. Oh, also... Archaon, the Ever-Chosen, has gotten his ass handed to him by Grimgor before, and the only reason Archaon won during the end times is because the writers wanted him to win, because otherwise it's like every time they've written him, he's actually gotten his butt handed to him. Yeah, it's kind of funny. And even in Age of Sigmar, like he has like a city and stuff dedicated to him, and has like giant statues and things dedicated to him. And the orcs keep breaking in and like changing his statue of Archaon the Ever-Chosen to be a statue of Gorkamork. Gorkamork. And I just think that's really funny. But I don't like the Chaos Boys, so, you know. What am I to say other than you guys are silly looking with your big horned helmets and things like that? Although I suppose I'm hardly one to talk, because if you look at this, this is pretty silly looking itself. Although there's less things to actually grab onto. I'm pretty sure like the feathers you would just cut. The problem with like actually having big horns on your armor is that it makes something for the enemy to have like their weapon catch onto. And the thing is then like even if you have a really strong neck, basically if you have a horn and I get my sword caught into it, I just start yanking and I'm going to pull your body with it because your head is attached to your, I mean your helmet is attached to your head and I just yank and I'm going to be able to like turn you and move you, which is just a terrible idea. It's why you don't actually frequently see too many horns on actual battle helmets. You sometimes see them on ceremonial helmets, but not too terribly often on actual battle helmets, although you can see them on some. And there are some channels you can go out there to check out if you really want to look at different types of armor. It's very interesting. But yeah. I hope you enjoyed these random facts about the Empire while I just kind of ran around here in Tebeckelheim or Telheim. It's pretty cool. I have to admit, I didn't try to guard myself. But this is I oh, that's why my finger keeps going slightly north, more north than it should. My little paw finger. But anyway, yeah. And in the future, I'm going to start leveling up, I think, an orc, but we will see. We will see who gets leveled up next. I really enjoy Yamina, and I'm still going to play RVR with her, and I'm going to try to get her RVR level up so I can get even fancier armor, because fancy armor is fun. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed stopping by here with me, and I really hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day. And if you can think of any subjects you would like me to address in Warhammer, I have quite an extensive knowledge of Warhammer, so if you just want to come up with a subject for me to talk about, I'd be very much down to do so. So thank you all so much for stopping by, and yeah, have a wonderful day. God bless.